Good morning, students. Welcome to the first PUC English classes. Student, let us begin our classes by our first chapter, The Gentleman of the Jungle, written by Jomo Kenyatta. Actually, it is written as Jomo Kenyatta, but we are pronouncing it as Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta was a Kenyan anti-colonial activist and politician, and he was the first president of Kenya from 1964 to 78. He was an African political leader. Need to know about this author, right? So, students, let us know about the author who beautifully analyzed the story in the form of fable to easily understand the problem of African, how they were affected by the brutality and the corruption of the European colonizers. We very much familiar with this as Indians were colonized by the Britishers since 1851 to 1947. We very well know that they had come to trade and later made Indian slaves and ruled politically and economically. We were under their control. So, students, let us know Jomo Kenyatta was a Kenyan anti-colonial activist and politician who governed Kenya as its prime minister from 1963 for 18 years and then as its first president from 1964 till his death till 1978. He was a Kikuyu, a tribe, a member of the people forming the largest ethnic group in Kenya. Their language is Bantu. There are many tribes in South Africa. Kikuyu is one of the tribe. He was one of the earliest and the best known African nationalistic leaders. As the secretary of his tribal association in 1928, he campaigned for land reform and African political rights. Throughout the 1920s, Jomo Kenyatta immersed himself in the movement against the white settlers dominated Kenyan government. As a member of Kikuyu people, he traveled to London in 1929 to protest the British government recommendation that its East African territories be more closely united at the expense of Kikuyu interests. He successfully stalled plans for the union. He was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment in 1953 in alleged connection with the violent 1952 Jomo rebellion. He denied this affiliation. After his release, he negotiated the constitutional terms of Kenya's independence, and in 1963 he became Prime Minister of a free Kenya. He had to struggle a lot to get back freedom to Africa. Jomo Kenyatta's fable, Gentleman of the Jungle, is an indictment of European colonialism and a warning to Kenyatta's fellow citizens of Africa against naively opening their metaphorical door to outsiders bearing flowers. Bearing flowers here means welcoming them. In this story, the animals ironically gave their history on the continent, portray the Europeans imperialistic who slowly insinuated into Africa only to impose harsh alien policies intended to subjugate the indigenous people and exploit their lands. In the story by Jomo Kenyatta, we have the theme of greed, corruption, control, innocence, colonialism, trust, self importance, and rebellion. Jomo Kenyatta, in order to bring out the sufferings of the Kenyan people, very cleverly brought out the story in the form of fable to make us understand clearly. So, the man in the story symbolizes the individual Africans who were affected by the brutality and corruption of the European colonizers. How corrupt the animals are in the story is noticeable by the fact that they all take the side of Mr. Elephant. Elephant here represents the European power. and hut is a natural resources. Lion, the queen of England. So, no consideration is given to the man in the story. If anything, he has no rights, despite the fact that he built the hut for himself. So, students, this is the background of the story. Now, let us begin the story now. Listen carefully. Please go through your textbooks. In the late 19th century, the chief European powers divided Africa among themselves. They could do this because European arms were superior and because the African chiefs did not understand the meaning of the treaties they were asked to sign. As a result, Africans lost their lands they had traditionally lived on and cultivated. It is very important to know before signing an agreement that what are we signing on. African people lost their lands by the betrayal of the Europeans. So, the innocent man represents the black Africans and the jungle animal represents the whites. The writer Jomo Kenyatta has very efficiently described the cunning qualities of the British, which resembles the wild animals of the jungle. The attitude towards the Europeans' expansion is made clear in the following fable, which reflects the attitude of the Kikuyu people of Kenya towards European laws and commissions. So, in this story, the fable begins with the introduction of an elephant who seeking refuge from a storm in a man's hut. Here, elephant means the European power, and the man is a native African, as I said you before. What do you mean by storm? It is a heavy thunderstorm or heavy rain with thundering. The story is a fable. It is an allegory and satire which symbolically reenacted the European colonizers of Africa. Here, before we start, let us see. Okay, the man had a small hut at the edge of the forest. The elephant politely approached the man, saying, "My dear good man, will you please let me put my trunk inside your hut to keep it out of this torrential rain?" Very politely, he requested the man to put his trunk inside the hut. The man was very kind enough. He thought of showing sympathy for the elephant on his request for his only trunk and thought to provide him space. The elephant was allowed to put his trunk inside gently. The elephant, in return, thanked his friend, saying, "You have done me a good deed, and one day I shall return your kindness." This means that elephant was very happy for the man as he helped him and promised that he shall return his kindness by helping him. The elephant, soon after putting his trunk inside the hut, slowly pushed his head also inside and finally flung the man out of his hut and comfortably sat inside the hut. The man, seeing this, grumbled in protest. The elephant casually responded, "My dear good friend, your skin is harder than mine, and as there is no enough room for both of us, you can afford to remain in the rain while I am protecting my delicate skin from the hailstorm." Now, seeing the cunningness of the elephant and the reason he gave him about his delicate skin and the man's skin is hard, he was shocked. The man was not aware of the elephant's cunningness, so he started grumbling. Elephant exploits the goodness of the man. Here we can see that elephant, instead of remaining grateful, encroaches upon the hut of the man and throws him out. As I said, man started grumbling in the protest, and then ensued a heated argument between him and the elephant. All the other animals, on hearing this heated argument between the man and the elephant, came to see what was the matter. all stood around listening to the argument between the man and the elephant and his friend elephant. In this turmoil, the lion came roaring and made enquiries as a loud voice. As a displeased voice and said, "Don't you all know that I am the king of the jungle? How dare anyone disturb the peace of my kingdom?" On hearing this, the elephant, who was one of the high ministers in the jungle kingdom, replied in a soothing voice to pacify the lion, saying, "My lord, there is no disturbance of the peace in your kingdom. I have only been having a little discussion with my friend here as to the possession of this little hut which your lordship sees me occupying." Elephant assures the lion that there is no threat to peace and further said he was having a discussion with his friend man for the possession of the hut. The Lion King was pleased that the man is a friend of the animals, as lion wanted peace and tranquility. Tranquility means peacefulness in his kingdom, replied in a noble voice, saying, "I command my ministers to appoint a commission of inquiry to go thoroughly into the matter and report accordingly." And then, as I said, Lion was pleased with the man for making friendship with the animals. Here he said, "You have done well by establishing friendship with my people." This was said by Lion, especially with the elephant, who is one of my honorable ministers of state. "Do not grumble any more. Your hut is not lost to you. Wait until the sitting of my imperial commission, and there you will be given plenty of opportunity to state your case." And he further said, "I am sure that you will be pleased with the finding of the commission." This means that, students, the lion assures the man that he would get back his hut depending upon the finding of a commission that would be appointed to look into the matter. Here, the man was very pleased by the sweet, polished words from the king of the jungle and innocently waited for his opportunity in the belief that naturally the hut would be returned to him, as man was very sure that he would get back his hut, and the findings would prove elephant to be culprit. But man was unaware of the cunningness or betrayal of these animals. He blindly believed in the lion, the king of the jungle. Here, students, you see, as the story proceeds, the elephant obeys the command of his master, got busy with the other ministers to appoint the commission of inquiry. Here we can just imagine that the elephant is the accused person and he is set to appoint a commission of inquiry. What can we expect from him? If, for example, if a robber or a thief is set to appoint a panel of justice, will he not appoint the person who will favor him? Yes, right. But there, the innocent man was waiting for his opportunity in the commission of inquiry. But here, the elephant, he appointed the panel of justice here. Just imagine what would be the result. Now let us see further. Students, continuation in the next video.